All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now we're going to talk about Jorge Masvidal because he is pissed. He's pissed, man. He wants a fight, and I understand. But I think that there are a bunch of different factors going on that I will outline that I'm going to speculate are what's kind of driving all of these different things. Now, before I get into that, if you are new to the channel, because there's a lot of new viewers on the channel now, Jorge Masvidal is one of my absolute all-time favorite fighters. I love Jorge Masvidal. Like, I have this feeling it's possible that him or Colby or, I don't know, some of these other American Top Team guys might be mad at me. And I'm not going to speculate publicly about why. Let's just say I did some videos right before I was blowing up that I wouldn't have done if I knew 150,000 people were going to see them, okay? So like I was used to getting 4,000 views, and then all of a sudden the channel blew up and a few videos that were meant for a 4,000 person audience were seen by 150,000 people. So in the event that he's mad at me, it was unintentional, and he's still one of my favorite fighters. And I can't think of anybody that if they fought Jorge Masvidal that I would root for the other guy. I actually don't think there's anybody. But he is in a complicated situation that I'll go through right now. Now, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. So here's the thing about George's situation. I'm just going to go back and forth. George, Jorge. Here's the complicated thing about George's situation. He has the same problem that Nate Diaz has and Conor McGregor has and some of these other guys. Now, when you hear someone say, I want to fight, why am I not getting a fight? Like George did. How often is that a person who's a nobody really gives a fuck about that guy fighter? Can you guys think of any? Like a person who is, you know, not like a nobody, but like it's kind of like a mid-tier fighter. They've gone 2-1 in their last 3. They're a medium-sized name, and they're like, what the hell, man? Give me a fight! Give me a fight! Now, part of it is obviously they wouldn't be able to get their voice out there like Jorge, but the thing is that a fighter like that doesn't have the same challenge, okay? The UFC has a small handful of UFC fighters that are true assets to the UFC that can drive real numbers. Every year, think about it like this. Every year, you're going to have, gosh, I don't want to misquote this because this is something I should probably know, but let's just say it's 12 pay-per-view events, right? Now, of those 12 pay-per-view events, you're probably going to have like 4 that are enormous, right? That are like really, really big, right? And maybe that's even a stretch. But like and I'm not talking about like you go, ooh, wow, surprise, big pay-per-view. Okay, the UFC's been doing this forever. They know exactly what fights are going to blow up. Like they know in advance. They have all these key indicators that can tell, where they can start doing projections. Now they are part of a publicly traded company. Projecting their quarterly revenue is critical to their business. That's probably the only metric that Dana is even like. Dana does whatever he wants, right? The only metric that he is even partially like kind of, okay, let's make sure, aside from me just doing exactly what I want to be doing to grow this business, the only metric where he's really like, let's make sure we do well is probably their quarterly, because they have to roll it up to a publicly traded company. And I'm just, the bottom line is they need to be able to predict their outcomes as it relates to the pay-per-view buys. And if you've got this many guys, okay, you got George, you've got Conor, you've got Nate Diaz. I mean, I'm trying to think of other guys who are in this category of this big of a star, and there really aren't very many. That's kind of my point. Is like there's only a handful of guys that can really drive pay-per-views like that. And so what you do with them is utterly critical, because then you got like the next tier that's just a hair below that, right? Like Colby Covington, right? Kamaru Usman. I don't know. Like what's his name? Max Holloway, guys like that are stars. Israel Adesanya, he can drive pay-per-views also. I forgot about him. But like where they're just a hair below, right? You have to match these guys up for maximum impact. And so the most important guys in terms of when do we plug them in are these guys like George, Nate, Conor. And so you can't just willy-nilly throw them in there. And that's a challenge for George, because George has a completely different set of priorities. Like, I know what he's thinking because he said it openly. He's like, he's whatever age. He's like, I'm probably going to do another 2-3 years. And he still wants to fight for the title. Now, he lost to Kamaru twice, But if Colby Covington wins against Kamaru, like Masvidal maybe could get that fight if Colby demanded it was Masvidal. But most likely, people are going to want to see him win a fight, at least one, because otherwise you have to jump Leon like without anything other than Colby being like, fuck that, I don't want to fight Leon. And which you could probably do. Now, I think everybody assuming that if Colby beats Kamaru, that Kamaru automatically will get the third fight is not impossible. It's not impossible. I mean, if there's ever been a guy who deserves an immediate rematch if he loses the title, it would be Kamaru Usman. But don't bank on it. And the only reason is because that Jorge and Colby fight is so huge. So when you're the UFC and you're looking at the chessboard, they obviously tried to get Leon to fight Masvidal and Leon wouldn't do it. And so they're like, okay, so then what? Like, I don't think they, maybe they'll put him up against Gilbert. I mean, maybe that's what they'll end up doing. But I think they're dragging their feet because they want to see what happens with Kamaru and Colby because Masvidal's such a huge star, right? I really believe that. Now, Leon should take the Masvidal fight. Actually, that's not even really true. Now I'm being biased because I want to see that fight. In reality, Leon shouldn't fight. He should sit and wait because if Kamaru wins, then he's going to end up fighting Leon almost for sure, right? Who else is Kamaru going to fight if Kamaru wins? He's going to fight Leon. There's no one else to fight. Or at least there's no one deserving of an immediate title shot. Unless Khamzat Chimaev absolutely mashes the dude that he's fighting, and then you could jump Leon, but you would have to, it would just have to be like overtly like, we don't care about the rankings. We're only about big fights with Ali, which Ali and Kamaru have done, which is exactly what I would do. That's just smart business. But yeah, George is in a weird spot because if he takes another, and then you got Luque in there too, and Luque's scary. That's a scary fucking fight. I actually heard Luque is going to fight Nate Diaz. And yeah, man, I don't know. It's just, who do you put him against? The only real fight that you could put him against is that, because you want, if he fights and wins, to be able to fight for the title, the only one that makes sense is Gilbert Burns. But that's a scary fight, man. Certainly Masvidal could win, but Burns is fucking good, dude. He's really good. I do think that Masvidal matches up well with Gilbert, though, because I don't think Gilbert's going to be able to get him to the ground. And Gilbert's explosive, but Masvidal's excellent on his feet, obviously. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, but like I said, Masvidal, one of my favorite fighters ever. It would actually kind of crush my heart if he was really mad at me, but it is what it is. I think it's actually even more likely that he was like, if he's ever heard of me, he probably heard about me in the last 10 days, and he's unaware that I did the video that I'm referring to, or videos that I'm referring to, that I would never have done now, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I made private, so you guys can't even see them if you don't know what I'm talking about. But let's just say this, I wasn't talking shit. That is definitely not what I was doing. But anyway, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Peace.